Hi everybody, it's Dr. Stuart A. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moya Swerdlow. And of course we have a couple of new little creatures in our house who are not too happy to be on film, but here they are.
Maine Coon kittens.
Yeah.
Who have decided that they like to rearrange my plants and furniture.
Especially in the middle of the night.
Yes, and leave me presents in my shower. But it was Janet's birthday present, and so
it's my fault.
I just have to let that go. Anyway, if I may, and you notice that I'm freezing cold today.
Yeah, usually you're just like in a little t-shirt. Now you got like 16 layers on.
Yeah, well, you know, so interesting because last week when we had the polar vortex thing, it was like -50, and now it's still cold, but it's not -50. But I'm colder now than when it was so cold out. I don't know why. It's probably because at night you drain my blood and take my energy, so I feel colder.
Yeah. Well, you know, too, it's more damp, even though it doesn't feel as damp.
Well, it was snowing this morning, so it was a little, but it was dry snow. Anyway, this is the Expansions News podcast for the second week of February 2019, and it's kind of like we're on Noah's Ark, so you're going to hear a lot of animals in the, oh my God, it just went into the...
It?
Yeah.
She.
She. Guess what her name is, the white one?
Q-tip.
Her name is Q.
Tip.
No, not tip.
Q-tip.
Q, the letter Q.
She looks just like a little Q-tip.
No, well,
yeah.
That's a stupid name for a cat.
Or it's Snowflake, no. Silly Goose, Swan, Bianca.
I like Bianca, but nobody else did.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he is Solomon.
Yeah. King Solomon because he's very peaceful.
Not really. He just eats all day long, and then he poops every place. and that had better stop. Anyway, people have been asking about the State of the Union address that President Trump did on February 5th, and that was delayed for 1 week. And it was very interesting because right behind him, of course, sat the infamous Nancy Pelosi, and she was wearing a necklace, if you notice, that was all blue around here, and then two red pieces in the middle. Of course, red is Republican, and the big blue is the Democrat, but she's more supposed to be more powerful. And so you notice that when the State of the Union started, her necklace was balanced with the red in the middle. And then as soon as he would start to say something, she moved her head and she turned the beads to the right. We don't know exactly what that means. Perhaps some kind of a gesture towards the Republicans. But she also made her hand gesture. The big thing was the way she
was clapping,
you know, and looked condescending towards him. And she said, "Oh no, it's because I was so grateful that he said certain things." But if you hold the picture still and you just see her clapping, it looks like she's holding the gun and ready to shoot him.
That's
like she's shooting him with the gun.
That's terrible.
That's what it really just looks like to me.
What do you think about all the Democratic women wearing white?
Oh yes, the suffragettes. Yes, honestly, they need to get a life. Going back, but the mind pattern or the implication is that basically they're saying women are going back to what they were 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's not forward; it's backwards.
Yeah, but the thing that's interesting to me is, of course, we teach color, tone, and archetype. So now you see very blatantly that they are using color to make messages. So you will see more of that, but most likely they will be using it for negative purposes and nefarious purposes versus the positive purposes.
Yes. Anyway, on to the news stories, and of course the so-called Caravan and the columns of Central Americans coming to the southern border. Well, you know, Mexico has states just like the U.S. does. Mm-hmm. In fact, the official name of Mexico is the United States of Mexico. Yes. People don't know that. And so there is a state called Coahuila, and the governor of Coahuila, Mexico, which is a state which is on the border, he said, "No más caravanas," or no more caravans. And he said, in the case of the state government, we will not allow more migrants to travel to Coahuila. And his name is Governor Miguel Riquelme. And I think that he's very smart to say those things. And he says the military police are trying to keep the migrants housed while they process temporary asylum claims. Most of them don't get them. The secretary, or I should say the security secretary for Coahuila, whose name is Jose Luis pliego corona. He wants Americans to know that they are doing everything possible to identify and remove any criminal threat in this group. And he said it would make it better if the Democrats, Republicans, the U.S. government, the Mexican government, and the Honduran government would work together to put on the table something that will resolve this for good. I agree, and even the Mexicans say so. So all the hype is really from CNN and all the other, crappy news networks, CNN.
But it sounds like it's, again, bringing more, bringing everything together.
Well, we need to encourage, we need to stop the Central Americans, encouraging them from leaving their home. Most of them really have no idea what they'll find or what they're getting themselves into. They're being given false promises for a better future by George Soros and his people, and then when they get there, it's too late, and then they're stuck.
That's not easy for people.
So I can't blame those people, but I blame the people who told them to go. Now, this story I cannot confirm officially, but I do know people who have had this issue, and that is that physicians in the U.S. are reporting a spike in people suffering from an unusual cough from a virus that lasts anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, and some cases longer. And I know that this is true. One of my grandchildren even had this cough, and I know a lot of people we've had this cough. I know one person who caught it in December is still coughing, and it's February. And the symptoms are cough, congestion, shortness of breath. According to Professor Dr. Cyril Broderick, who believes that Ebola virus was manufactured, and I believe that also happened, and Zika was also manufactured. He believes it's a way of population control. I'm not so sure about that one. However, Bill Gates, your friend that you knew in Seattle, has declared openly that reducing the human population would help save the planet. You know what else would help save the planet?
What?
Reducing Bill Gates.
No, remember, we don't advocate violence.
I didn't either. I just say he needs to go away. How he does that, I don't care. And so does Nancy Pelosi and Alexandra Cortez, whatever her name is, AOC. She needs to go away too. And please get your teeth fixed. Very bad. Anyway, there are a lot of manufactured viruses going around. I suggest all of you take massive vitamin C and D, drink distilled water, and take sea salt baths. And
work on your mind pattern so those things don't happen to you.
Speaking of illnesses, remember last week I reported about the Israeli scientists who said they had cure for cancer?
Right.
Well, the moment they announced that they had discovered a universal cancer cure that worked with a single injection, with no chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, or therapy, guess what? They've already been attacked. And the cancer establishment will destroy, discredit, and defame any scientist who dares go public with the truth about reversing or curing cancer. And the attacks on the Israeli scientists have already begun. The last thing the cancer industry would ever want is a cure for cancer, because it would cost them billions in annual profits and put millions of people out of work worldwide. I think they should go out of business. And it also says here, every cancer treatment offered by the medical establishment, for example, is widely known to cause more cancer, as you know from your own family members. Well, basically, the real cure is to reverse the mind pattern of held resentment. And by the way, there are already several alternative cures that work. And so this is not really...
Yeah. So we do talk about taking care of your mind, Hyperspace Plus, Hyperspace Helper, healing archetypes and symbols. If you want to know how that you can work on your mind and therefore reverse what's going on in your body, because your body always follows the mind. Mind first.
Yes, and here's something that really was disturbing to me. And that is the New Mexico House, that's their house, the state house, approved a radical pro-abortion bill that would keep abortions legal through all 9 months of pregnancy, even if Roe versus Wade is overturned. It was sponsored by State Representative Joanne Ferrari, who should be aborted herself. The bill would repeal a statute from the 1960s that prohibits abortions except in cases of rape, incest, or threats to the mother's life. New Mexico would allow abortions without restriction. Essentially, unborn babies could be aborted for any reason up to birth.
That's what I don't understand.
That is murder.
Why don't they just do a cesarean and take the baby?
Why don't they just...
that doesn't make sense to me.
They need to abort the people who voted for this.
That's terrible.
One of the women who testified against the bill was a woman named Tina Atkins. She was the mother of a young woman who died along with the unborn baby because of the late-term abortion. And it's widely published in medical journals that after 5 months of pregnancy, a woman has an 89 times greater risk of death than if she had an earlier abortion.
But, 5 months and before, I felt life at about 6-8 weeks I felt life. So it's a terrible thing.
You know what? Don't get freaking pregnant. I understand about rape and that stuff. But other than that, you have no reason to be, in this day and age, if you don't want to be pregnant, you don't have to be before you get pregnant. Anyway.
Well, on top of that, the doctors that do these things, let's take a look at that.
What doctor could go to an 8.5-month pregnant woman and kill her baby?
Yeah.
What person?
Well, I'm even just saying...
That's a demonic entity.
Even younger than that, you feel that baby moving inside of you. It's a person. I don't care what anybody says. It's got a soul attached. It is murder.
At that point, absolutely. And this reminds me of what we taught in the class this January, the template of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel of ancient Israel, who were involved with child sacrifice to Baal, and that's what this is all about.
It's a terrible thing.
Now, let's go to outer space for a bit. The Harvard professor that you know, his name is Avi Loeb, he is not backing down from his claims that a piece of extraterrestrial spacecraft technology is what flew past Jupiter. It's at Jupiter right now and flew past the Earth earlier last year. He is remaining defiant that the space object, which was, I love the name, Oumuamua. Oumuamua.
Yeah, it sounds like a Hawaiian name.
It is a Hawaiian name because it was named by astronomers in 2017. And he says Oumuamua is from another civilization. And many scientists have criticized him. And get this, Ohio State University astrophysicist Paul Sutter tweeted this. He said, Oumuamua is not an alien spaceship, and the authors of the paper insult honest scientific inquiry to even suggest it. So there.
Well, it just depends on which side of the...
Well, how does he know it's not an alien spaceship?
Well, how does this
and
guy
why
know
is he
does?
against suggesting anything when they don't know what it is, unless he is in a box, like all those astrophysicists and scientists everywhere else. Well, anyway, this Harvard professor who said it is spaceship, he said it's moving too fast to be just a rock. And he says, if someone shows me evidence to the contrary, I will immediately back down. But I actually hope it comes back and picks me up.
Yeah.
I'm done with this plan.
What if it takes you someplace worse?
I don't care. Could any place be worse than here? I don't think so.
It can always be worse.
I don't know about that.
It can be better, it can be worse.
And my final lovely story is that there are new volcanic eruptions in Karangetang and Merapi, Indonesia, Planchon Peteroa in Argentina and Chile, and Chiveluch in Russia, and the fourth eruption of Steamboat Geyser in 2019 in Yellowstone National Park, all of them connected to the Pacific Rim and Ring of Fire. So watch out, people, if you are in Japan, California, New Zealand, Hawaii, and the Philippines, your moment is about to come.
About the Pacific Northwest?
Well, that's another story.
Yeah.
Seattle had a lot of snow.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
what
did
I
Portland.
heard. Yeah. Yeah, I think they read that it was going to be one of the biggest storms.
It was the biggest storms they had in 20 years in one day.
Wow.
Biggest snowstorm. Actually, it's the biggest snow they had in 20 years, but the biggest in one day ever.
Wow. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, I have a story about White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Mm-hmm. She said in an interview last week with Christian Broadcasting that she believed God wanted Donald Trump to become president. And she said, quote, "I think God calls all of us to fill different roles at different times, and I think that he wanted Donald Trump to become president. And that's why he's there, and I think he has done a tremendous job in supporting a lot of the things that people of faith really care about." She also called Trump the most conservative president America's ever had. Do you believe that?
I wouldn't know about him being so conservative, but maybe in modern times. And by the way, God asked me first, and I didn't want to, and then he asked him.
Trump. Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
Then she goes on to say there's a reason evangelicals are sticking with the president, and that's because he's delivered on all the things he said he would do. She is actually the daughter of a Southern Baptist pastor who turned governor, and in an interview with Baptist Press last year, she said she does not separate her faith from her work. Because if you are a deep-rooted Christian, your faith is what defines you, and I think that's something that I try to take with me in everything I do, and certainly don't separate that when I go to work every day. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I do believe we all need to have morals, and that needs to be infused in what we do.
I think spirituality should be in every job.
I agree. Speaking of spirituality, I have a Pope story.
A Pope?
A Pope story.
Well,
here.
That's not spiritual.
No. Pope Francis has admitted that clerics have sexually abused nuns, and in one case they were kept as sex slaves.
Duh.
It's thought to be the first time that Pope Francis has acknowledged the sexual abuse of nuns by the clergy. And didn't you tell me about...
my grandfather.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a Romanian plumber in a convent. Mm-hmm. And at night, in the middle of the night, the Mother Superior would call him to come to the convent because the toilet was clogged. And then he would find a fetus or an aborted baby in the toilet. And the Mother Superior would make him swear never to tell anybody. Yeah. But he told my grandmother, and then she told me.
And that happened quite frequently, correct?
Yes.
Well, anyway, it said that Pope Francis's predecessor, Pope Benedict, was forced to shut down an entire congregation of nuns who were being abused by priests. He said the church was attempting to address the problem, but it was still ongoing. And in fact, last November, the Catholic Church's Global Organization for Nuns denounced the culture of silence and secrecy that prevented them from speaking out. The Pope's comments come amid long-running cases of sexual abuse of children and young men by priests, but now we're adding women and specifically nuns by the priests. And he admitted that the church had an issue, but interestingly enough, he lays the blame in society, seeing women as second class. So I would not put the blame to society.
The Pope blames society?
Society.
Of course, why would he blame his artificial church?
The female congregation that they're talking about was actually dissolved in 2005 under Pope Benedict, and it was in France called the Community of Saint Jean. In 2013, the Community of Saint Jean admitted that priests had behaved in ways that went against chastity with several women, and then those women were eventually removed. And then last year, in a case in India, a bishop was arrested over allegations that he raped a nun 13 times between 2014 and 2016. In Chile, reports of abuse of nuns carried out by priests led the Vatican to launch an investigation, and those women were removed from the order. Also last year, the Associated Press reported abuses of nuns in Italy and Africa. And just a few days ago, the Vatican's women's magazine, it's called Women's Church. I'm surprised they allowed this.
I didn't know they had that.
They did, but because it's the Vatican's women's magazine, I'm surprised they allowed it to be...
Like 2 pages long?
It doesn't matter. That they still were able to write in this article, in this magazine, the editor, Lucetta Scarafia, condemned the abuse, saying in some cases nuns were forced to abort priests' children, something which Catholicism forbids. And the editor of the magazine wrote, if the church continues to close its eyes to the scandal, the condition of oppression of women in the church will never change. So it was just interesting that actually they allowed that to even be published. So we'll see where this goes.
I can vouch for the fact that they have aborted fetuses in the convents.
Yeah. And now get this one, speaking of people never being born. In India, a 27-year-old businessman named Raphael Samuel said that it's wrong to bring children into the world because they then have to put up with lifelong suffering. So therefore, he plans to sue his parents for giving birth to him without his consent.
I'd like to sue my parents to give birth to me.
He said, we didn't ask to be born, so we should be paid for the rest of our lives. And
Listen, they are paying him the rest of his life. I'm sure they take care of him, the idiot.
Yeah. his parents are attorneys, and they actually think it's interesting.
Look what they brought up.
But apparently, they say his belief is rooted in what's called antinatalism. I never heard of that. A philosophy that argues that life is so full of misery that people should stop procreating immediately. And he says this would phase out humanity and would be better for the planet.
Well, especially starting with him.
So he said, isn't forcing a child into this world and forcing it to have a career like kidnapping and slavery. You're your parents' entertainment. You owe them nothing.
Ha!
Anyway, I just thought it was very interesting.
You know what? He needs to get a job.
He says he's looking for an attorney to take up his case, but so far he hasn't
Good
found
luck.
it. But and he thinks it will be thrown out.
Yeah,
but
you think?
he wants to put it out there so it gets
I'll translate.
attention.
I want attention by the news services, and somebody will buy my story because I don't want to get a job.
Yeah, so,
that's what that's about.
And he's getting lots of attention.
And his parents probably said, "We're not giving you any more money. You need to move out and get a job." Okay, now I'm going to sue you. That's what happened.
And then, I don't know if you have heard about, I'm sure you must have, Adam Levine's halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Like, he's a brainiac.
Okay, what was interesting is, and it's not illegal for men
he has
to
more
bear
tattoos
their,
than
to bear their chest.
Tattoo parlor.
However, apparently he did a little strip show, which, I don't think is really appropriate
He's
per
copying
se.
me.
And they said then that in 2004, when Janet Jackson's accidentally exposed her breast, which they said it was an accident, which
I
of course
exposed
I
my breast a couple months ago.
Yeah, no. And anyway, they called hers a wardrobe malfunction. So obviously, it's wrong because he's a man and she was a woman and blah blah.
So.
Well, just interesting because they're just
hopefully it's a different kind of breast
again.
than she did.
I don't know. And Mary Poppins returns as being called a racist movie.
Of course it is.
Because of the chimney sweep scene.
Because it has blackface.
And yes, and they have soot on their face. And so
it gets racism.
Isn't that horrible? And then they said that Meryl Streep's character in Mary Poppins Returns, whose name is Topsy, shares a name with a black child that Mickey Mouse dresses up in a short film from 1933.
Let's just ban everything.
Well, I think that they need to get a life, as you say.
Just read the people. They have nothing to do. These people need to get a job.
And then, speaking, in my opinion, of bad taste, in Universal Orlando, owned by Disney,
say no
right?
more.
They apparently had two trolls called Branch and Poppy, who came from a troll animated movie. It was called Trolls. Okay.
Poppy, that's George Bush's granddaughter.
Yes, and remember I talked about Poppy.
She's a troll.
And I talked about Poppy programming. So if you didn't see that podcast I did, you might want to look it up.
My grandmother in Europe used to, to the poppies, and she'd hallucinate.
Yeah, but I think that was normal in those days, wasn't it?
I wasn't there, so
I don't know. Anyway, so they have a new character, I guess, but it's actually from the movie called Guy Diamond. And in the movie, Guy Diamond, I guess, is naked. And when he has what they call a shart out the back end.
A who?
A shart.
What did that mean?
A shart at the back end, glitter comes out.
Oh.
Okay, so now they brought this to life.
May I just say it? He farts glitter.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. So, of course, in my day, that word started with an F was a bad word.
It's not a bad word.
Well,
it's
now
a word.
Today it's not a bad word. Everybody
it's
accepts
a function.
It. So they call it a butt-naked troll that
farts
glitter at the guests. So that's to little kids.
If everybody farted glitter, it wouldn't be so terrible.
Maybe. But in my opinion, again...
But then the glitter would get stuck in your pants, so you would have to be naked.
They're still glamorizing bare bottoms, and that is the way that astral entities attach to people.
Not if they're getting glitter in their face.
Well, maybe so. Maybe then they call him Guy Diamond, so maybe it's like diamond glitter. I don't know. But anyway, so that's what they're doing now for young kids, is they're prancing around this naked troll, having him turn his bottom to them and glitter. So that's going to glamorize...
What's wrong with that?
It glamorizes buttocks and all the other things that go along with it. So I'm just telling you that this is a way of imprinting our youth.
It gives a whole nother meaning to blowing smoke up your butt.
Yeah, it does. So with that said, remember we've already started our February self-healing group webinars called Affirming You. We have March, April, and May left, and that's it before we break for the season based on this book.
Oh, how exciting.
Anything that's interested in history, Blue Blood, True World History.
Ah.
What?
No, can I when you get to this, I want to say something.
Okay, here's this.
Yeah, I want to say something about that.
Say something.
Because, as some of you know, I'm intending to write a sequel to 13 Cube called 13 Cube Squared. And I need 13 stories of your programming life and experiences anonymously. And so, if you are interested in contributing a chapter, not a freaking book, a chapter, read this first, and then say, I can write a chapter on my story based on these kind of things, and then send it to customersupport@expansions.com by July 1st, and I will review it and see if I would like to include it in my second book. There's no payment for it. It's just that, and it will be anonymous. Nobody will know who you are, and the story needs to be true.
And the issue is that if you do it, you will be reviewed in here and your story interpreted by Stuart. So that is what your compensation is.
And then years from now, when you go on some talk show and you say, I was blah blah, chapter blah in 13 Cube Squared, and I'm revealing myself.
Yes.
And then also telling who I am.
Yeah. But listen, also, I will tell you that if you write questions, I want to know about this or write about that, remember, on our website, we have a membership site. It costs you less than $1 a day.
Even I have to pay.
Yeah. So join our membership site. We have a 3-day free trial. Try before you buy. If you don't like it, you can just cancel on your credit card and you're done. If you like it, then you can ask all kinds of questions. YouTube and Facebook is not a place to ask questions.
No, I'm not going to answer you on Facebook.
No. And then not too long ago, in fact, recently, there have been people who've been sending in like their life stories. Speaking of
I'm not going to read it.
We're not going to read it. You, as much as you might think your story is unique, we hear these kind of stories every single day.
Oh, I am the only one that the so-called aliens, I'm their ambassador.
Right.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So
back to the line.
Yeah, that's right. It happens all over the place. So it might be interesting to you, but there's so many people out there with a similar type of stories that if you join our site, you'll find that out that you're not alone, and that's where you can get help. So read Montauk, Alien Connection, which is Stuart's autobiography. Read Decoding Your Life, which is universal law. This will help you. Plus, on the member side, we also have the webinars similar to the ones we're doing now. It took us 3 years to go through this book, so there's a lot of information in those webinars, free to the members. We have Stuart Says, which is a great book. White Owl Legends, which is fantastic archetypal story of creation based on Native American legends, I would say, although the person who gave this says they're not legends, but that's up to you. And of course, I have the children's series, which also, if you are not, if English is not your first language, this is a great series. Wonderful for children. We sell a lot of these.
What if English is your first language?
It's still great because it has pictures, which I like. And then
pictures.
Stuart will be in Quito in March, and this is the book that they are basing the seminar on, March 9th and 10th. Healing Archetypes and Symbols. So excellent. So if you have Spanish-speaking friends or your Spanish is your first language, you want to tell them about the upcoming seminar in Quito because it's going to be a great event. He was there before and was very well received. So that's amazing. And of course, we have my Italy trip that's coming up, our Clear Health and Healing Tour we've done now for several years. It's a great way to get up there and really clear your head. And we help you, we work with you. It's just amazing.
I need a lot of stuff to clear my head.
Yeah, and remember, we walk the paths of the ancient Waldensians. If you don't know what a Waldensian is, don't read it online because
this is one.
I'm one. This is the Catholic version online, so you want to read the true version, which is in here, and come to us and walk the paths of the ancient Waldensians. You'll be amazed at what you find. Okay, anything else?
Yes, just one quick little thing. Any of you who read my blog know that Duncan Cameron is not well. He's back in the ICU. So please send him prayers, and let's pray that he has a miracle and gets well.
Yes. So like, comment, and share. Remember, our Yakutian Laika puppies now have their own page.
Yes, if we don't stop soon, they're going to come through the door.
Yeah, so be sure you like, comment, and share on that. Our YouTube videos, like, comment, and share. Get a membership, please, less than $1 a day, 3 days free trial. Learn about who we are and what we have to offer and what we share with you versus just spewing vitriol, please. Because
Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye for now.